We have additional cap space that is coming to the Detroit Lions. We're going to get into that and what it means for the Lions and impending free agents like Carlton Davis. So we're going to talk about that situation right there. Latest free agency news, rumors, trade rumors, all of that. We're going to get into the mock draft roundup. I want to go over specifically one mock draft, and then we're going to go into the roundup for the rest of them, and we're going to get into the latest Lions news. Let's go. Before Wednesday announcement of the cap being added, this is what currently the cap space is for the Detroit Lions. We're at $48.4 million. It's 11th best now cap. Dead cap hit of $19.53 million. That's pretty good, right? 11th best cap for the team what we are. But on Wednesday, the NFL informed teams that the salary cap for the 2025 season would take another jump, similar to the $30 million jump in 2024. Though an official number has not been established for 2025, the NFL told teams that the salary cap will be somewhere between $277 million to $281 million. The jump would lower the impending impact of contract extensions given to Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aleem McNeil, David Montgomery, and Taylor Decker. And what does this mean for the Lions? Well, potentially of re-signing players such as Carlton Davis, who's an impending free agent who we traded for this past offseason to help out the secondary. So if we get an additional cap space, maybe we can get players like Carlton Davis, where the Detroit Free Press is talking about that today of potentially bringing him back. The problem, again, is he's as a high-priced free agent. He's in the higher list. Teams always looking for corners, especially shutdown corners. With that said, as we talked about in yesterday's video, Carlton Davis speaking to the media how much he loves Dan Campbell, and maybe that affects his free agent status. Maybe he just wants to come back here, and given that the Lions may have a little extra money to do so, they can get it done. And that would be big towards the offseason here. So I got a question for you. Name a player you want the Detroit Lions to bring back. Let's get going here to a FanSided by Cody Williams mock draft. Now, I specifically seen this one. It's a 3-round mock draft that they did here, and I want to touch on this because I thought this was probably the most interesting mock draft, and we'll get into the roundup what the bigger and the mainstream media wants to think. But the first part of this mock draft, folks, and you go ahead and check it out under the article right now, is they have a trade with the 28th pick. Yes, the 28th pick has been traded in the FanSided mock draft. What player or where are the Lions getting? Where are they? Are they trading up, down, what? No! The trade is for Myles Garrett. That's right, in this mock draft. They're doing trades, and they're going a big trade here. The Browns get first-round pick number 28 overall, the fourth-round pick this year, number 132 overall, and a second-round pick next year. So that'll leave the Detroit Lions with a second-round pick this year, the third-round pick this year, and our later picks, right? The Lions get a third-round pick this year and Myles Garrett. First off, this is a slam dunk trade. If the Browns did this, it's an automatic victory for the Lions. This seems incredibly unlikely, but that's how the mock draft starts. And this is reason. He says, obviously the draft capital would move around, but the price for Garrett isn't going to be crazy as some might think. He's 29 years old, and he's already due to a ton of money during his current contract, which means that many trade suitors isn't going to have leverage for the farm when it comes to the draft capital in order to get him. So the first-round pick, number 28 overall this year, along with a swap of third-rounders in 2025, along with either a first-round or second-rounder in 2026, would be enough to get it done. But again, there is no time limit in this present year. Detroit's get a player like Garrett. He's average of 15 sacks per season over the past 4 years in Cleveland and is one of the most dominant defensive forces in the league. Pair him with Hutchinson, and you have a hard press to find many duos unstoppable in NFL history, much less in the current landscape in the NFL. Before we get to the actual selections of this mock draft of the players in the draft, first off, I absolutely don't think that would be the trade compensation for a legit trade comp. And we're going to get into Daniel Jeremiah and the latest trade rumors that contradicts what this article just said here. First off, I don't believe such a trade is, with that type of compensation, it would have to be more. Okay, so I don't think it's realistic. Could a trade occur? Potentially, right? We don't know, but Daniel Jeremiah, we'll talk about a little bit later, is thinking it's unlikely. But now, when we do the grade this mock draft, I want you guys to understand that a trade's a part of it. So the second pick for this mock draft, they're going with Donovan Jackson, offensive lineman out of Ohio State. Now, I actually think this would be a solid draft pick here. You got a guy he's big, right? He's 320 pounds, got the imposing frame. He's got leverage. He's coupled with exceptional arm length, providing elite power, explosive first step, demonstrating over-the-knock ability, exhibits superior anchoring, showcase excellent lateral, physical, high IQ. There's some things he needs to work on. But you go Myles Garrett, then you go and you draft a hell of a lineman in the second round. You beefed up the trenches for this football team, and to me, that's absolutely amazing. So grade the mock draft right now in the comments. As we continue on here, the third pick they got going on is they have the Detroit Lions going linebacker in round 3, pick 67. They want to shore up that defense with Chris Paul Jr., 6'1", 235-pound product out of Ole Miss. He's very instinctive. He recognizes skills, quickly identifies blocking schemes. Textbooks wrap-up tackler, plus downhill trigger, advances pattern, quick processor, and identifies communicating and strong contact. 3-down linebacker with special teams upside. Now, you say, why would the Lions want to do this with a player who put up 48 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 1 interception? Why would they want to go linebacker? Well, I'm going with the idea that it's because Derek Barnes is gone. And if Derek Barnes does leave in free agency, you're going to have to get a linebacker, and he could be a guy that can come in and solidify that spot. So just with those 3 picks, you look at this. You have the defensive line complete from Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader. Okay, you have your linebackers. You lose Derek Barnes potentially in free agency. You turn around, get Chris Paul. You still have Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell. You have Carlton Davis. If he was to stay in free, it would be pretty good, right? Be a really good, solid movement if they were to go that route. But hey, that's one mock draft. Look, if it was to come out like this, I would give this an A++ mock draft. So in the comments, give that mock draft. I don't think it's realistic, but give me your thoughts. Now let's get into before we get into the latest rumors with Daniel Jeremiah about a trade, let's get into a mock draft roundup really quickly, because this is what the mainstream media thinks that the Lions are going to do. Now, these are first-round picks. This is for pick 28, so I am not doing a player profile on these guys. A lot of you already know who they are, as we do. So I don't really need to go over the players like I just did previously. So let's go with what they think right here. Dave Burkett, and huge-time beat writer. Everybody respects Dave Burkett. It's always important to understand who he thinks is going to get. I like to look at, he's got it going, Nick Scorton, Texas A&M pass rusher. I would love it. Look, you know me. I've been talking about getting a pass rusher. It just depends. We don't know exactly who's going to be there, right? I would love to get the big body guy that helps stop the run. They love the big powered, 280-pound player, right? That's what they're looking for. We just don't know how the draft's going to go with the 28th pick, so I'm always going to be solid with a pass rusher. Nick Scorton, he is perfectly fine for me if they want to go whoever else. Jack Sawyer, if you got Mike Green, whoever. There's so many pass rusher filled. Dave Burkett, he does understand, and he says that's Brad Holmes' draft is for talent over need. Yep, but at the stage of this offseason, I've learned heavily in traits and positions when it comes to finding fits in mock drafts. Scouting to the big, high upside, pocket collapsing defensive end as targeted early in the draft. 100%. That's what he does. The big body guy. We've been saying it. You all know. He's 20 years old. He's listed as 6'4", 280, and he would be in the Marcus Davenport sort of role. Understanding, I agree. What do you think about this pick in the comments? USA Today has the Detroit Lions going offensive lineman Gray Zabel. Now, Gray Zabel he could play all over the offensive line. Literally could play all over the offensive line. And if they're going for BPA and pass rusher is gone, I'm not going to get upset about it. I know that Zeitler I think he's going to come back, but I still would like to have another. I would still like to have another offensive lineman. If he doesn't come back, you have a guy right there he fits in. But you're making a strength to strength. I have no problem with that. And other picks is doing that as well. Daniel Jeremiah is going guard Donovan Jackson. Same concept right there. He'd be a perfect replacement for a Kevin Zeitler. I didn't even read this article. Right, so let's get in here. The next player that they got is Shermer Stewart, 6'6", 290-pound defensive end that could play interior. Right, that seems like an absolute pick for the Lions in that role. And Field Yates going back with Zabel as well. So what do you think about the mock draft roundup? I actually like Dave Burkett's the most. Jack Sawyer, if he's there, I think that potentially who is the pick, in my opinion. Now let's get into Daniel Jeremiah. He just came out, and this is about Myles Garrett. This is our daily Myles Garrett trade talk. It's going to be happening all the time. He said, that's when a team has made the most sense for me is Myles Garrett. He said to the Lions, if they are comfortable with moving him, which sounds like at this point they are not, but if they are comfortable to me, you don't get outside the conference, and he goes to Detroit. Detroit has a roster that's ready to win right now, ready to win a championship, and that could be the finishing piece. I'd be willing to be pretty aggressive if I were Brad Holmes to go in front, knowing that they can bring a parade to my city. I'd be aggressive and do whatever I had to do to make something like this happen. We'll see if it's a legit possibility. Everything talking to people late around the league, and the expectations are not going to move him. He's not going anywhere. We'll see what happens. That's what we've been hearing, right? He's not going to go anywhere. With that said, the league, and I got to say this, has been moving towards the Lions as the team. And if you see the rumors and everything going around, that is the trend right now, is going towards if he gets traded, it would be to Detroit. But people around the league saying they're not going to move him. This could be a situation where that goes into the NFL season, week 1. If that's the case, the Lions wouldn't be trading for him, right? The draft would be passed already, unless they didn't get a player they wanted at the 28th pick. They could be aggressive after that, but I think if there is a trade, Detroit would be in the conversation. We just don't know if Cleveland's actually going to do it, right? It takes 2 to tango. So let me know your thoughts in the comments with the latest Myles Garrett rumors from Daniel Jeremiah. With that said, folks, adios.